Welcome back to the Nameless podcast. It's Nameless Sports, doing more today. I'm Ben, here as always with Ivy. We're having a good time on opening afternoon of NFL free agency. We've been glued to the internet, glued to the sources of our sources, and a couple of interesting things have happened. Alec Pierce becoming, I think, the highest paid wide receiver in free agency ever is what you said? More than the
Yeah,
Tyreek deal?
according to Schefter.
Oh, I guess that
Yeah,
was a
it's a
trade.
lot of money.
Wow. My goodness. Well, we got a lot to talk about today, even kind of in this sports lull that we're existing in right now, which is a little depressing, but hey, a lot less stuff to bet on, I guess. But we're going to talk about Jason Tatum's return, which happened earlier this weekend. A little bit of Luka talk. Ivy has some thoughts. Some grievances. I'll be doing an NFL season autopsy on a player to be named later. And we got a little game that I want to start with, Ivy. I'm going to share my screen and show you a photo from a website, and it's going to have some NBA jerseys on it. You need to identify which players these jerseys are. There's going to be context clues given, but for the most part, I want you to work it out on camera and see if you can get it. So I'm gonna pull this up because we have
I'm
to.
ready. I'm excited. I'm ready. I'm feeling great. Right off the bat, number 4, New York. That's got to be Amon Shumpert. Um, it just like that's the iconic Amon Shumpert New York jersey. Number 10 for LA is challenging. I kind of want to say it's Eric Bledsoe. Um, just because I think I remember him wearing that number at some point, and I want to say it's with LA, but it could also be something like Brandon Bass. No, I don't think it's Brandon Bass. It could be Brandon Bass. It could be Eric Bledsoe. I want to say it's like one of their like a million guards that they cycled through during the Lob City era. I kind of want to say it's either Bledsoe or Eric Gordon, but I'm not 100%. I'm gonna, if you know what, final answer. I'm gonna say Eric Bledsoe and Iman Shumpert. Am I right?
Okay, so I think you have some of the right ideas if you're thinking about this if it's in 2016. So remember, this movie probably shot like 2014, 2015. So think more to that era with your next guess.
Is this like the Kevin Durant Genie movie that he made, or the Kevin Durant, like, is this Thunderstruck merch? Is that what's happening right now?
Think Will Arnett in one of the most weird Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies you've ever seen. But
Okay,
I'm definitely thinking here about like the 2014, 2015 Knicks roster. Remember, this is like one of the worst rosters in NBA history.
is it Steve Novak? Is this a Steve Novak jersey? No,
It is not Steve Novak.
it's not Steve Novak. Okay, fuck, because I know Iman Shumpert from this time was on that team, but oh my god, was he 20? I think he was 20 something at that point. Um,
It's not
shit.
Shumpert.
It's not Lance Thomas. It's not Wilson Chandler. It's not. Who else is it not?
There's a very
Fuck.
iconic player wearing that number 4 jersey that bounced around to a lot of teams, was drafted originally 37th overall by Toronto. This is after a couple of moves that he's ended up in New York, and has a couple of pretty infamous clips, I'll say, on NBA Twitter.
Miss Clips. It's not JR. JR was. Is it JR? It's not JR. It's. Oh god damn it! I feel I can't. I can't. It's like on the tip of my tongue, but I can't figure out who it is. It's like drafted 37th overall to Toronto. Uh,
I will say, to me, in his most iconic clip in the NBA, he is screaming.
he's screaming. What team was he on when he was screaming?
I should look this up. I think it might have been in this jersey, but it also could have been in Brooklyn, where I believe later in his career, like a couple years later, he actually got a ton of playing time when they were really bad.
Okay. Fuck, I can't figure it out. I give up on this one. I give up on this one. Who is it?
Quincy
Quincy
AC.
AC? God! I was thinking guard. I forgot. Oh, I was thinking guard. Oh, that sucks. Oh, shout out Quincy AC, man. Fuck. I was thinking guard the whole time. I was not thinking Quincy AC. I was not thinking Quincy AC. Okay, so the number 10, like, is it Eric Gordon?
It is not Eric Gordon. For number 10, think big and think backup big.
Brandon Bass. JJ Hickson.
Very close.
Brandon Bass,
You're
JJ
thinking right
Hickson.
time, right place. Just guess
I
guys.
know, I'm just thinking, who else was on that team? I want to say like Spencer Hayes was on that team for some reason.
Yes, yes,
Was it
yes.
really?
Spencer
Yeah!
Spencer Hawes jersey. Yes, you nailed it. Hold on, let's pull that up. Let's go.
God damn,
Nailed it.
you pulled that one.
Nailed it.
Wow.
I can't believe that.
Spencer Hawes and fucking Quincy AC. That's a run right there.
Let's move on to more NBA, less Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles adaptation, and more Jason Tatum return. So he came back against the Dallas Mavericks at home a couple nights ago to much fanfare. It was honestly, as a Bostonian, very fun game to watch, very heartwarming. For a March game, you're looking for something like that. We also played against the Cleveland Cavaliers, had a win there, but people had a lot of thoughts about the game, a lot of thoughts about Tatum's play, Tatum hitting the dagger late in that one from three. Ivy, kind of give me your thoughts on how you think Jason has looked over the last few games here.
Yeah, so I think Jason looks a little tentative. I mean, as you're expecting, he doesn't look as explosive vertically as he did last season. There was that one crazy, I don't know why Jaylen Brown threw that alley oop to Jason Tatum on his first game back. Like I love that from Jaylen Brown. There's so many ways you could interpret that, but he just looks a little more hesitant than I think like he ever looked before, which is of course to be expected. But I mean, I think it's always a good thing when you have to rely a little bit less on Baylor Shireman and Jordan Walsh offensively than Jason Tatum. I think that's just generally good, and I think like as much as hurt as and like I don't think Jason Tatum is going to be anywhere close to even probably like 80% for the playoffs. Like I just don't believe he has enough time right now to get there. I do think that he can be like a pretty good role player who can at least surprise you occasionally, and as the season goes on, as the playoffs go along, he might get a little bit more comfortable. I would still be concerned if I was a Celtics fan just cuz like 10 months like he got injured like so recently, like so we the first episode of our podcast was like right when Jason Tatum got hurt, and we have not done that many podcasts. Like it has not been that many episodes since that time, so I would be very concerned. But I mean, he looks about as well as good as you can want him to look, and I think he'll probably start looking better soon.
I have to agree with you, honestly. Certainly looked a little tentative, but I guess to make Celtics fans feel better, he looked as tentative as you think he would for someone who felt like they could come back to the NBA floor. It didn't look like he was rushed in the process, but yeah, it's going to take a little bit of acclimation and just getting that trust back. But that should come with time. I mean, when you have a player like this in your organization and something like this happens, you are forever going to feel so antsy. So, you know, in you will forever live in fear of the other shoe dropping when a player gets injured in a way such as this. Kevin Durant, Jason Tatum in this situation, and many more that are not coming to my head in the immediate moment. But yeah, I'm concerned because he's still injured. Do you know what I mean? But To be fair, we also just saw Stefan Diggs come back from a torn ACL after 10 months and play NFL football in the slot, you know? And
We
we'd want
saw
to talk
Quincy
about
do this in like a week. Like,
absolutely. So I do think there is something to be said about modern medicine in sports, especially. And as someone who casually keeps up with professional wrestling, like I think that's one of the ground zeros for these kinds of treatments going really fast. Um, a lot of the times because those guys don't make that much money when they're not wrestling, so they will do their best to rush back from these injuries. But a couple years ago, about like a decade ago, you started to see people really return quickly from injuries that used to either be career enders or something that you just lived with and was really bad for at least a year. I mean, the classic example from that time is John Cena returning from a torn pec in like under 9 months in like 2008. That was a big whoa moment for most people because that was a year long injury before that, guaranteed. So I do think that modern medicine has improved a lot. You can see in the case of Kevin Durant, of other athletes across various sports where that is the case. And in general, I just want Tatum to take it easy and get back to where he needs to be and play limited minutes and just get his feet wet. Um, I think some fans may feel like this is a real title window year, and I do think we have to pull back expectations a little bit. And let's make sure that we don't overextend or get hurt in pursuit of a lost season in a way. So I'm not sure. I'm up and down on it, but in general, he didn't look washed. He didn't look slow a step. You know, he didn't look slow to the degree where you think if once he gets up to speed, he's not going to be himself. And that's as much as you could ask for coming off an injury as this serious.
yeah, you really can't ask for more than that.
Cavs Celtics, did you watch the game?
I did not. I was working. I wasn't able to watch it. But give me your rundown. What happened?
I let me actually just well, I didn't catch the whole thing. But what I will say is that I think the reason that I've been speaking today with a bit of a concerned tone is because I didn't feel incredible about the performance. I mean, we won by 10 points, but it certainly felt like a game where you went, okay, this one we won. But it didn't make me feel more comfortable about our chances in a 7 game series. And I think when you're playing these games this late into the season, you want to have the feeling of, oh, we could do this. Like, we could do this on back to back nights, definitely. And it's not that you got the reverse or opposite feeling, which was also good, but there wasn't this resounding feeling of we're just gonna kind of stomp through the playoffs here. That the 24 Celtics definitely had, and for stretches the 25 Celtics had. I think this playoff run is going to be a lot harder than people expect, but we'll see. The Cavs would be a difficult opponent, and I think after that game, as a Cavs fan, you wouldn't be that uncomfortable matching up with Boston. Where I feel like last year it was an issue of they obviously were looking forward to the Eastern Conference Finals before getting blasted out by the Pacers. But they were looking at us with concern, and I don't think they'd feel as much that way this year as they have in previous years.
It honestly, the Celtics this year kind of remind me of like the 2013, 2014 Nuggets when it was just like a total power, or I think it's 2012, 2013. Either way, the power of friendship Nuggets who won like 57 games, and it was all by like Andre Iguodala and Danilo Gallinari, and oh my God, Kenneth Faried is showing up, and oh, Wilson Chandler's turning into a real player, and Ty Lawson looks really good. Like it's just a lot of like everything. The vibes were so good, but there was definitely that feeling as the season went along that like, oh shit, the playoffs are going to be really hard, and there's way more ways for us to lose than there are for us to win. I think that's what it is with the Celtics right now. We've talked about it a lot on this pod, but like if their threes aren't falling, and if their threes aren't falling, then they have very little chance of winning. Like just game to game and in a series, like if they go cold for 2 weeks, it's kind of over. They don't really have Like Derek White has not been efficient this year. I mean, he's been asked to do way more than he is normally asked, but and he has not really. He's produced, but like I think he's shooting like 40% from the field, which is not good, and that's not even like true shooting. Peyton Pritchard is Peyton Pritchard. Tatum is you don't really know what he's going to be like 3 weeks from now. You don't even really know what he's going to be tomorrow night. So that team is definitely concerning, and I empathize with you because there's nothing worse than being a fan of a power friendship team as shit gets more and more serious, and you're like, oh no, this is really just gonna hurt. This is just gonna hurt.
No, 100%. I think this team is certainly more talented, I will say. It still has Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown on it, but I understand your point of when the going gets rough and you get closer to actual playoff basketball, if you're a seasoned enough fan, you understand the difference and you can get a sense of what teams are going to lock in come playoff time and what teams are going to flail. Um, you know, the Celtics, you would say, they don't have that many legitimate playmakers outside of Tatum and Brown. Uh, but you really have developed some guys to do some stuff, but even Peyton Pritchard, who six man of the year, incredible handle, can make his own shot from a lot of places on the floor. He's putting up multiple goose eggs in the regular season. Come playoff time, if they just lock him down for three straight games, that might be enough to make the series unwinnable. If you have to rely on him as much as the Celtics are going to have to rely on him. He's an incredible player. I honestly think one of my favorites just, man, he's so small on that court and just gets open. It's awesome to watch, but, you know, some teams it's just not going to work. It's not going to, he is too small to play against some teams and some matchups and some players. That is a flaw that no one can overcome. And we're going to have to deal with it. And we'll see how a returning Jason Tatum and supposed MVP Jaylen Brown can fare against it.
Honestly, I would be a little less concerned. I think like the glass half full thing here is like this kind of reminds me of like that Hawks team. Remember that where like all five starters were all stars. So it was like the Cal Korver, Teague, Horford, Damari Carroll, Hawks, and they got smacked by LeBron. And I don't think the Eastern Conference. We talked about this a lot. I don't think the Eastern Conference has LeBron. Like I think the scariest team, honestly, for the Celtics might be the Cavs, like just because I think James Harden and Donovan Mitchell are really good together, and I really like a lot of their offense, and really, really love like their backline defense. But yeah, they like there's a chance that the Celtics can just like if I'm a Celtics fan, I'm not scared of any of these Eastern Conference teams. Like I'm just not scared of them as much as I would be of like a LeBron run.
I don't know. I think the Celtics should certainly fear the Cavs, the Knicks. Absolutely. I don't think that's a negotiable stance to have. I think those teams absolutely will test Tatum's athleticism coming off this injury to the highest degree.
Oh
Um,
yeah, no, I'm saying like it's there's no like I feel like the threat is not like because the threat of LeBron was so specific and inevitable, and um I don't think that exists right now in the Eastern Conference, but there are like it's not going to be a cakewalk. Like there's three or four teams, and including like the Hornets too, who are going to be scary and who play kind of the same way as the Celtics do, at least offensively. Like that's not going to be an easy out if the Celtics face the Hornets.
no, no, because again, like what is the thing that separates Jason Tatum? Like he is arguably the most versatile defender in the entire NBA. And the problem is that the injury he received is something that would directly impact his perimeter defense and the way he moves on the floor to defend these guys. And there are problems when he is not on the floor defensively for the Celtics. Always. There's also problems offensively. Um, and, you know, not to rain on anyone's parade, but Jason Tatum gets injured. Celtics were losing that game to the Knicks, and we're going to lose the series. Like it was
Yeah.
it crazier things have happened. I think back to the game one Celtics Pacers Jaylen Brown shot that sorry, dude, why is Siri activating again? This is crazy. Hold on, I need to turn that off. Um, Thinking back to the Pacers series, that Jaylen Brown shot in game one, it would have taken a miracle to come back in game three in New York, and to win that series would have been a Herculean effort. To win the championship, maybe that would have been our hardest season we could have gone on. But point being, I kind of still look at this as New York's conference to lose at the moment. Not a knock on the Pistons, not a knock on the Cavs, but I mean, New York, certainly from an investment standpoint, certainly it's theirs to lose. From how much investment is sunk into the current starting five of that roster, they should win the title.
There's literally no excuse for New York at this point. I mean, you go down the list of the other NBA team of the other teams in the Eastern Conference, like the Cavs, huge shakeup at the deadline. Like as much as they have invested in this team, and they've invested a lot, like probably as much as the Knicks. There's very little precedent for like a team making a move of that magnitude at the deadline and then working out. So they don't really have as much existential pressure. That kicks in next season. Celtics, obviously, no Tatum. They basically like stripped their entire roster for parts in the offseason. This is a vibe season. Like there's literally nothing for the Celtics to lose. Pistons, super young. Like they're young. They're hungry. They should win, but like if they don't win, we all already know why, and it's not like a referendum on this entire team. The even like going down like the Hornets, they're just happy to be here. Raptors, just happy to be here. The Knicks are in this very interesting predicament where by all of the talent they have and all of the money they have invested in that talent, they should be running away with this conference. Like they just should. There's no excuse for a team with OG, Mikhail, Cat, and Jalen Brunson to be this bad, especially when at every opportunity, anytime there's a decent role player who's shown up on the trade market or on the free agent market this season and last season, the Knicks have picked him up. They have Jordan Clarkson. I don't know if you remember that. They had Yabu for a little bit. They have like Diawara is playing really well for them. Jose Alvarado is playing really well for them. They have all these guys, and if they don't win this season, I don't even know what they do. They have done like everything in their power to be good this season, and even still they had a players only meeting, and a players only meeting on the bench too. They had two players only meetings, and one of them was happening on the bench during a game. Like it is not, the vibes are so bad this season. So bad. I mean, they've been winning a lot more and it looks a little bit better. But they've been like, they had really terrible vibes. They were like 2-9 at one point for like an 11 game stretch in this season. Like they need to win. There's no team in the entire NBA right now, maybe besides the Nuggets, who needs to win as much as the Knicks do. And that is not a good place to be going into the playoffs. Like you want pressure, obviously, but you don't want that kind of pressure where it's like, if we don't win, everything is going to change. Like literally every part of this team is going to have to change. They're like, a lot of guys just won't be here next year. That is not a good place to go into the playoffs with, especially with a team like the Knicks who have had all of these chemistry and consistency problems all season. Like it's just, I'm worried about the Knicks just because like that's a lot for a team to face, and they're gonna be punched in the mouth like over and over again. And every time that's happened this season, it's been a real like toss up if they're gonna come back or if they're just gonna kind of like wallow for 10 games. And you can't wallow for 10 games in the playoffs. It's not how it works.
No, it is not. I happen to agree, but I also thought about one thing that I wanted to bring up and posit to you as a question. So I'm on the East Coast right now. I'm in Boston. If the Knicks do win the championship, is it stolen valor if I drive down and go to their championship parade?
Talk, are you for real? Are you for real? You're gonna go to the fucking a New York championship parade as a Boston guy? Are you for real? That's not even soul of valor. That's just like I feel like I respect you less as a fan right now. Like that's what's happening right now.
I think it's totally fair. I think it's in bounds. What if you're traveling? What if you are a traveling business person and you're an OKC fan, or you're an Orlando Magic fan, and you just happen to be flying into Golden State for a meeting back in 2016, sorry, back in 2015, and you come in on the day and you're like, why is there so much traffic? And they go, oh, the parade is happening this morning, and you're done with your meeting early, and you think, okay, what if I just dropped by? Sure, I might have my old Dwight Howard jersey in my suitcase, but I might want to stay for the parade. Who cares? It's a parade. I just want to go see.
Doug, you're not a traveling businessman though. That's the difference. Like you have no there's nothing for you in New York besides this parade right now. Like you have no excuse. Like what are you going to do?
But hypothetically, if you were traveling, if that were the situation, would that be fine? If
Yeah.
hypothetically you
Yeah.
were in town for another reason and there was a championship parade happening for even a rival team, would it be okay to just go see? It's a parade. How many times do we do parades nowadays?
You're right. We don't do nearly enough parades anymore. And when we do parades, they're not even good parades. It's like 100 people just walking down the street, and if you blink, you'll miss it. However, you are describing a situation where you actively seek it out. You are making plans. You are on fucking Expedia trying to plan a trip to New York to go see the Knicks parade. Come on, that's craziness. That's craziness. You're a Boston guy.
Okay, I'll give you that you don't want to do it just randomly, but I think specifically for New York and any other longtime terrible franchise, if it's a once in a 50-year championship win, they're going to be going crazy. The town will be shut down. Is it not an anthropological experiment to go see how people act in a town that has never experienced the success before? What happens to the businesses? What happens to life and jobs for that night, for that day? How long?
So you've gone from being a traveling businessman to being basically Jane Goodall going to study the apes in New York and see how they respond. Like that's what you're talking about right now. Are you like, come on? You just want to see the parade. You just want to win again because apparently the New England sports hasn't won enough for your taste.
Just doing field work and you're mad about it, and I see myself as a researcher and someone moving the culture and science forward by bearing witness and sharing my findings with the rest of the world. Now, if my findings are Snapchat videos of me drunk in a bar, like that might be a one finding. And if
Yeah,
I'm partying with a Knicks players at the facility, like that might be another. So who knows? You might just stumble and fall into certain paths you didn't know were going to happen.
yeah, it's
You can't blame me
unavoidable.
for that.
It's unavoidable. No.
Exactly.
So one team that will not be winning the title this year is the Los Angeles Lakers. They are, I think, tied with the Nuggets for either fifth or sixth right now in the Western Conference. Their net rating is sitting at a solid 0. They are neither good nor bad. They are neither winning nor losing, and yet they are the fifth seed in the Western Conference, and by all indications, they should be probably like touching the plan. Like that's probably where statistically this team should lie, but because it's the Lakers and because they get every call in the world, they have a stunning clutch record. I think it's like 17-6 last time I checked, which is absurd. That doesn't even make sense, but um I had in the rundown a take I wanted to get off about the Luka and the Lakers, but before I do that, I was just wondering like what do you think about the Lakers this season? Like big picture, like what do you think is going on?
They're kind of in a transitionatory period. kind of a very obvious thing to say, but no, I think it is as simple as it looks. I think there are certain players that play well together on the roster. I think there are certain combinations of players that don't work. I think there are young players and really old players, and young players who act like they're really old. No, that's a little too mean, but I think when you trade for Luka, you trade for a specific type of team. I think that was what the idea was, and I think immediately the LeBron fit. LeBron can make it work, but maybe he even really can't at this day and age. Like he does kind of play a specific style of ball, and so does Luka. Um, I don't have too many strong feelings just because I'm glad they're a rival that's in the dirt right now in terms of progress towards a championship. So I can sit comfortably with that in my heart. But in terms of cutting their teeth, I mean, I also think it's a tough sell to try to say like we can build a championship team around Luka. We just watched it not work. And granted, I think one thing to posit there is that the 2024 Celtics were a buzzsaw and no team from the West was beating them. But also, Luka was pantsed in a way. Like he fouled out of, was it multiple games or just like game 3 or 4
I
that he
think it was
fouled
just one
out of?
game. Yeah.
I think it was just game 3 that he fouled out of when it was really critical and they could have won game 3. But his temperament was really bad, and his errors and his lack of defense is what cost them the series without question. And he hasn't really made an effort to change that narrative. It's as much as we could say for this season so far. So do I think that trying to throw spaghetti at the wall again with a team that is less equipped to play around Luka's skills is going to go that far? I don't think anything's really going to be happening.
No, I
Are there
don't.
better players that they could draft and develop and put around him? Maybe. Are there better players than free agency that they could win in the margins on and put around him? Yes. I don't think Palinka is capable of doing either of those things. I think his tenure has proved that. You know, Tell me the great executive moves that were made outside of that Luka trade in his tenure. They've had some interesting draft finds, but I think overall not too great. They tore down to the studs that championship team, which I do not think was the wrong thing to do. I don't think that was the wrong thing, but I think ever since then the moves have not been what they needed for having the caliber of players that they've had.
I agree with that. I think the Austin Reeves thing was a not like hit out of the park, like in the Luka trade. Obviously, I think building a championship team and having those moves as well after the championship is huge. Like that's, I think any GM in the world would kill for that. But it's definitely fair to say like, at least going into this season, there was not a lot of like real plan. I don't think for this season, like Jared Vanderbilt and Marcus Smart are very important to the Lakers right now. Like very important. They already shipped off Gabe Vincent, who just kind of sucked for them. They just have not been able to figure it out. But I think one of my thing about the Lakers is I just want to read you some stats from Luka right now because he's having an insane season and I still don't think it's enough. So he is on the ball 41% of the time, which is absurd. That's like good for second in the NBA, or third in the NBA right now. He is second in points created, which at 52.3. He is leading the league in points. He is leading, like, he is in the 100 percentile for assists, for his minutes and usage. He is, by all indications, having, if not his best season, like, his second best season of all time. And I think even still, the way he gets those points is, like, kind of detrimental to the team. If you are going to be a Sun kind of creator, like a guy who literally every single part of the offense has to revolve around. I think your temperament, your just personality, and your kind of the way you go about it matters so much. And I think one, it's like the foul bitching. Like he will not stop complaining about fouls. This was one of the things that makes him almost an unwatchable player for me is that no matter what is going on, no matter if he was actually fouled or if he just wanted the call, he will bitch for like 10 to 15 seconds every time down the floor. And while he's doing that, his team is getting destroyed in transition. That is something that like every single player on that team knows. Hey, if Luka doesn't get his way, he's going to be a little baby about it on the other side of the court, and he's going to leave us to try to like kind of stop the bleeding on the other end. And this Lakers team is not really built to do that. Marcus Smart and Jarrett Vanderbilt are very important to the Lakers, and that says everything you need to know about their defense right now. Like those two are very important, and they're not even that good. And so I think that's one of the things that I think Luka is just kind of, it's one of the perpetual things with Luka that I just can't stand. And I think even besides that, I think the reason that like this is the year he should win the MVP. Like Jokic is probably going to be out. There's a good chance Shea is out. There's a good chance Wemby is out. Luka is scoring the most points. He's doing it very efficiently. He is still passing, like he's almost averaging a triple double. He's creating all these points for the Lakers whenever he's out there. And even still, this team is fifth in the West right now. Their offense is stagnant when he's out there. Like it is just, you watch early Luka and there's an explosiveness to it that's just not there anymore. He's slow. He's plodding. The offense when he is out there, the offense is very much the Luka game. It's the Luka show. There's nothing else going on. Everyone else is kind of an instrument of Luka's own domination. I don't think that's a way you can win basketball games. We've seen this in the past. James Harden, there's a reason that he never won a title, and it's not just because he's a choker, and it's not just because of that one game where they missed 27 straight threes. The reason that he never won a title, when players like him don't win titles, is because when the entire game is about you, when the entire offense, the entire team is about you, you are just one man. There is nothing like as great as you might be, a defense can stop you. A defense can slow you down. A defense can force you to kind of keep going over and over and over and over and over and over trying to beat them, and eventually you just won't be able to. And I think specifically with Luka, I think the way he gets his points of like just slowing the game down to a crawl offensively, just going like trying to draw all these fouls, trying to basically bend everyone in the arena to his will. I don't think any human being is able to do that, and I think ultimately it's going to leave him with a kind of disappointing career. Like I don't think he's going to win a title as the number one guy. I don't think he's going to win an MVP, because if there was a year for him to win an MVP, it was probably this year. And I just don't know where we go from here with Luka, because the perfect team around him is the kind of team they assembled in Dallas, and that team lost in the finals. And I don't think anyone going into that series thought they were going to do anything but lose. And I think it's partly because it's because of Luka.
I do, I do think there's things to be said about. Wait, let me clarify. Who were they not going to lose to? Who did no one think they were going to win against? Rather,
Shut up! Shut up! I hate
just
you.
because, just
I
because
hate you.
I thought I heard this. We don't have to go into it. I just thought I heard differently. But anyways,
You're the worst,
uh,
bro. I
I,
hate you.
I do agree with you on a lot of the Luka talk, but I'm also not going to victory lap anything. But I do think it says something that they're still fifth. Fifth in the West is interesting. Certainly the way that the Lakers are talked about, you think they were ninth. You think they were outside of the play-in right now. So that is kind of big market problems that they're dealing with right there. But we'll see what they can do towards the end of the season. Excuse me, or what happens for them come playoff time. But we've said before here, there are some pretty good teams in the lower seeds in the West too. Obviously, the ones that are the higher seeds are also good. So, being if they kind of end up in the middle in the five, something interesting could happen. But I think one thing we know is that we're not going to see Luka kick into this gear that we don't know about. There is no playoff L. There's no playoff Luka. It doesn't exist. We saw him make a run all the way, and he was injured, but everyone's injured. Everyone's always injured all the time. So I'm not sure. But do you have any more thoughts about like current MVP race overall that you want to get off?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be Shea again, and it's just gonna make me really sad. I don't think I think Jokic lost the MVP. Even if he's like plays all the games he needs to play, I think he's lost the MVP just because there was that initial stretch when he came back from injury. The Nuggets just sucked with him on the floor, and he was bad for a lot of those games. And I just don't think Shea has had a stretch like that this season, as much as it pains me to say. I mean, you can hear it in my voice. I hate giving Shea and the Thunder anything, but he's gonna win the MVP, and it's gonna make me really sad. And I don't. I think Wemby is probably like the best contender as like a dark horse, but I think his offense is just like a little bit worse than it needs to be right now. There's still things a good defense can do to like kind of get him out of his game. And I think next year or maybe the year after it's gonna be Wemby's league, but for right now it's Shea, and then I would say like probably Shea, Wemby. I'm just so mad. I hate Thunder. I hate the Thunder. I hate giving Shea props. I hate doing it.
No Jalen Brown MVP talk on this podcast. We're not even gonna touch it with a 9 foot pole and nothing.
No, we're not gonna touch it with a 9 foot pole because he's not the fucking MVP. It's insane to me that he's the MVP. The team cannot be better with you off the floor. I understand there's a lot more going on with that. Like it's not like they're obviously better with Jalen Brown. Obviously, there's a lot of reasons why statistically they're better with Jalen Brown on the bench that have nothing to do with Jalen Brown. However, you can't win MVP if your team is better than with you off the floor. You just can't do it. That's not how this works. I'm not giving shit to Jalen Brown. No, we're not doing this. No.
Are we not giving him the credit for doing so much with so little? Are we actually saying that the Celtics roster is incredible, top to bottom?
Really good. Very clearly, it's really good. They're performing better with him on the bench, bro. How are you telling me you can't have it both ways? You can't be like, oh, this team is good. Like we're like Jalen Brown is doing so much with so little, and statistically, the team is better with him on the bench. How is that? How is that possible? How is that possible? That you're just trying to piss me off. You're just rage baiting.
Folks, the liberal media will tell you that Jalen Brown, the Celtics are better with him off the floor. I'm here to tell you it's not true. Jalen Brown, a wonderful man, wonderful man. Jalen Brown, very good. To the MVP candidate, they're telling me MVP winner. They're telling me Finals MVP and MVP winner Jalen Brown when they do the NBA 100.
Dog, you did not just do a Trump. You did not just do a Trump impression on this pod.
I think that might have been the first time I've ever done a Trump impression, and it was on camera.
It wasn't bad. I didn't hate it actually.
But no, I mean, it would be wild if they gave him MVP. Like, come on, I love him to death, but it would be wild. That's what I think. That some Celtics fans, it's like, guys, no. The disrespect was him not being in the conversation because you need to at least give him the yes. His numbers, it would suggest that he's an MVP candidate, but actually, here's why he's not. It felt like for a lot of the season he wasn't even in that kind of conversation, which I felt was disrespectful. But guys, it would be nuts if Jalen Brown won MVP. The team is clearly really good. His coach is going to win Coach of the Year. I mean that's got to be locked, right? They're not going
Yeah.
to give it to Atkinson.
No,
I'm just thinking
Atkinson's
around the
not
league.
winning
Like
shit. I'm thinking I might be Bickerstaff would probably be the big competition with him. Maybe some Dagnall buzz. Maybe some
but wouldn't you say that the
Mitch Johnson. Maybe like Mitch
those a
Johnson,
lot of those
Bickerstaff,
rosters
and
are better than what we thought the Celtics had coming into this season?
yeah, and I think that's probably what's going to win out with Coach of the Year. I mean, Coach of the Year is a narrative based award anyway. It's kind of like Most Improved Player, where it's like it's vibes. There's nothing more to it than vibes. I think
Because it's like because then Popovich and Belichick should have been winning Coach of the Year every single
for a
year
year.
for 20 years.
Yeah, or Spo should have won once and he hasn't. So it's like it's gonna be Missoula. There's literally it would like I if the odds are less than like minus 1,000, I'm gonna like it's a shock to me.
Yeah, honestly. I mean, I have to agree. I mean, Coach of the Year and MVP award to me in all sports are the most narrative based awards in the entire year. And it's always what has like the offensive player award will be second, or defense player of the award year of the award will be second. So we sit here on the opening Monday of NFL free agency. We are pre-draft, and I want to do some season autopsies for some NFL players. We are going to start with the 41st pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. Ohio State's very own Travion Henderson, who was drafted to the Patriots and was expected to be kind of what he was at Ohio State, a home run hitter, most of his production coming from big chunk splash plays, speed and quickness that is elite, and those elite traits are supposed to stay with him. And as well, his blocking abilities in college were some of the surefire things that were going to translate to the NFL. And I would say that a lot of that stuff did translate. His speed, his quickness, it's a different level when he's on the field versus everybody else. We saw in multiple games this season when he gets behind the first line of the defense, when he gets behind the linebackers and he takes off, he might be the fastest guy on the field. He had a pretty good season this year, but people felt away. If I told you that Travion Henderson, drafted in the second round, was going to come to the Patriots and be touching 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns, I think the average Patriots fan would have said, "Oh my goodness, we found our running back of the future. We found the guy we're just going to hand the ball to. That's incredible." But in reality, I think those numbers lie a little bit. I think there are a lot of truths to the traits that he brought to the game. He brought the home run hitting ability. He brought the speed and the quickness. But he was lacking in a lot of things. His blocking as he comes to the league was awful, terrible. And that was supposed to be one of his most surefire traits. It was supposed to be the thing that got him on the field immediately. And the reality was, it took him off the field in the beginning of the season, even as the team was trying to give him as many carries as they possibly could. And he firmly ended up as running back two once Antonio Gibson went out with an injury. And what became of his break was Ramondre getting injured. And Travion did decently, but he was an incredibly inefficient runner. And what a lot of Patriots fans started to feel was that he was running into blockers. He was running into defenders, and he wasn't having good vision behind the line. I think there's some truth to that, certainly in the beginning of the season, but I actually dove into the film a little bit, and I chose this specific stretch of time when Ramondre was out and Travion was running back one for the Patriots. And I looked at the Atlanta game, which was a game that many people during the season didn't really make much of. Much closer game than you would have thought for this Patriots team versus that Falcons team in the 2025 season. And I looked at a lot of Travion's runs, and specifically I wanted to look at how he was doing throughout the game on the 1st and 10 runs, seeing as though that's where you're going to be getting most usage in the RB1 position. And he had some wonderful runs. And this is as he's starting to learn a little bit more about the running back position at the NFL level. And I certainly saw some putting his head down and kind of just trusting that the openings would be there and not looking forward as much. But you kind of want that from a rookie. You would rather have the rookie just do the thing you tell them to do and secure the ball. But even on his longer runs, his 8-yard runs, I do get the feeling that sometimes you just think he can get a little bit more. If he had just kind of kept his head up after his third step, he could have maybe been a little bit slipperier, made it past that linebacker, and then boom, he's one-on-one with the safety. I'm taking him all day versus that safety on his quickness. So there were some things like that, but another thing I kind of dove into and loved in his film was how much he just gets south north. If he can do it, he will dive straight forward. He will always get an extra yard and a half, an extra 2 yards, where he can safely kind of shoot off with his final step when he knows he's about to get hit and get those extra yards. He's very quick and he can move in the air very fast, but his blocking is a problem. And the film also revealed that his blocking was absolutely terrible. Whether it was missing chips, getting bulldozed, chipping, but kind of chipping the block incorrectly, where you're redirecting the player's momentum back into the quarterback or away from the blocker they're engaged with, many times Will Campbell. And that has to improve for him to become a running back one. Absolutely. The other thing it needs to improve for is because whenever he is on the field, you're almost positive it's going to be a run play. Because as the defense, if you've done your homework even a little bit, you know he's a terrible run blocker. So one of two things is going to happen if you blitz. He's going to try to block you, and you're confident enough as a defender to know I'm running through him, or I'm swimming him, or I'm doing something. Or he's getting the ball, and I'm meeting him right in the gap, and he's not going anywhere. What that situation also shuts down is what I see as the final crux of his future development, which is Travion Henderson, the pass catcher. You can't get him onto the field in passing situations because he just can't either come in and block if Drake needs it and goes to a max protection reliably. He cannot do that reliably. Even with Ramondre Stevenson having the worst fumbles I have ever seen. I rarely single out players to lose games in any sport, in a team sport, because it is a team sport. Ramondre Stevenson almost single-handedly lost the Pittsburgh Steelers game in week 3 for the New England Patriots just by fumbling. And he still managed to firmly win his job back against Travion. That should reveal how bad certain aspects of his game really were. So the steps I want to see taken is becoming a better blocker and making sure that at least pass blocking is not a liability, because it can expand his game so much if he can at least be passable as a pass blocker. Finally, he needs to become more slippery. Another thing I noticed, and if you notice in the Josh McDaniels offense, is Josh loves the wide receiver screen, no blockers. We're just turning right and whipping the ball down to the guy who motions over to where the X would be and seeing what he can do. He loves it with little quick slot receivers and see if you can go boom boom, make one guy miss and take off. And what I noticed with Travion is that he often would go down when the first guy got to him. Not to say that he may not get 4, 5, 6 yards when it looked like a guy with regular speed might only get 3. But sometimes you look at Travion and you go, man, if you just somehow made this one guy slide off you, you were home free. Or that was 15 yards instead of 8 yards. There were a lot of runs, especially in this Falcons game, where I felt like, man, if you had just made this one guy missed or somehow anticipated this contact and made sure that he slid right off you, it would have been 30-yard gain instead of setting us up in a 3rd and 5. So pass blocking, becoming more slippery are two things that he really needs to work on. And I think if those two come together, Travion becomes a serious, serious offensive weapon in this offense that will need him to develop as such, because Patriots may not have a star wide receiver, may have shaky offensive line play, but there's been investments in the running back room. Ramondre's still getting paid a decent amount of money, and Travion was a high pick. He was a top 50 pick, so you need him to kind of come together in this way and really take over that running back one slot. You need him to do it.
I feel like the slippery thing that you're talking about is like what really jumped out at me with Travion in the playoffs, at least. Granted, like that, those were the best. He faced the best defenses in the NFL, but it was still like kind of shocking. I remember all the hype coming into this season with Travion, and I just like every time I watched him, he just kind of underwhelmed me. Like he wasn't really breaking tackles, he wasn't getting by people. It was kind of like Like I remember watching J.K. Dobbins before he got hurt this season. I was like, oh, that's what a running back's supposed to be like, kind of breaking through the defense and taking contact and making guys miss and still like pushing for yards. Like even like a like turning like a 4 yard run into a 6 yard run. And I don't think Travion really had that. He was kind of like a home run hitter. I feel like a lot this season, where it's like if he's not getting a good break and like getting like 60 yards, he's kind of just going to be invisible as a runner. And I didn't. I was just very underwhelmed by that. So I think that you're right to bring that up for sure.
I do think it is a learnable skill. It does feel like something, when described, very intangible and maybe natural. But a lot of being slippery is just about knowing when to anticipate when you're going to be hit. And I do think a lot of his lack of elusiveness comes from being a rookie and learning first the offensive system and then understanding, okay, this is how the defense will probably react in this way. And I know that when I'm catching this ball, it's the outside linebacker is coming for my right leg right now. Like that's where he's aiming. So I'm just going to spin back out of it. I don't think Travion's there just yet. So hopefully another offseason, another year in the system. Maybe we're thinking late second year or early third year breakout is what I think could be happening for him.
And that's what's like crazy about football and specifically running backs to me is like you always there's like always a feeling like they don't have time. Like Travion Henderson, like if he's not showing something by the end of next year, like there's a good chance he just loses his job. Like I just don't like there's a real like short shelf life with those guys in a way that like kind of doesn't make sense to me as like an NBA fan. Like I'm used to seeing Cam Reddish getting shots like 6 years in having shown nothing, and it's crazy to me that like Travion Henderson like just won't have that ability. Even though like this season like he broke off some insane runs, like he looked awesome a few times. And like I hope he figures it out. I mean, I don't hope he figures it out because fuck the Patriots and fuck you. But I do kind of hope that I hope for him in the abstract, removed from all team context and removed from Boston. I hope he does well, and I hope he improves.
I think it's possible. The McDaniel system is notoriously incredibly difficult on first year players and rookies or players whose first year it is in the system in general. So I'm not too worried, but he's the kind of player that can really raise your ceiling. I think that's the universal truth about Travion is okay, he may not develop incredible vision the way you want him to. He may be a guy that doesn't really ever learn the defenses that well and does kind of go down at first contact. But if he can more consistently give you what he gave you in the Buccaneers game, which is broken play, I'm the most dangerous guy, and I'm going to the house. If he can give you that consistently enough to continue to be a threat, explosive plays are king in the NFL right now. In every team's analytics division, explosive plays are the things you're looking to generate consistently. If Travion can start to generate those plays more consistently, he instantly becomes one of the best players in the NFL. So I think the sky is the limit, but we need to make sure that that floor is in place sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. Like he is extremely explosive, but I think like running back blocking, like I think it's so important, but I think that's also a skill you can more learn. Like it's like especially with like someone like Travion who is he's like more stout. Like he's not like he's not skinny. You know, like he has like some real strength to him. He has some real like stability to him. I think that's something that he can really learn. Like I don't think it's necessarily going to be a I mean, he's probably never going to be great at it, like probably never going to be elite, but I think as long as he's like good enough that you can at least disguise the offensive play call when he's out on the floor, like out on the field. From what you said, it sounds like that's like kind of the bet, like the thing that would really unlock a lot of his game.
And for the most part, I really do like how he runs. He really does stay tight to the inside of his blocker, to get the angles, to try to help out his offensive lineman as much as possible. And he's quick through those lanes. And he knows in his head, he takes long strides and tries to slide through those gaps and those openings, no matter how small. And so I think that's where a lot of people get confused and they say he's running into guys. Well, no, he's trying to break a tiny seam that he just didn't get to. Sometimes I think him and Drake are a little slow on their exchange as they were building rapport and chemistry. Certainly in that Atlanta game, it kind of felt like the offensive line was good, but the offensive line was not timed up with the handoff of what was happening. And Travion was very quick in recovering that speed, but I think overall, operationally, these things will start to come into place next season for the Patriots. Not too worried, but there are concerns. But overall, there's a lot of good tape too. There's a lot of tape that you would show to young players and say, "This is how I want you to run. I want it to look like this." And he's not going to hit that hole every time, and it might look stupid sometimes. But when he can hit it, gone. He's gone. If we can find those moments more consistently, he becomes a great, great player. He's already very good right now, but he can become a great player when he becomes more consistent in the areas that we've talked about. Um, I do also want to end this segment by saying "Go Patriots." No, um, I will say my
I
camera's about to die, so I'm not sure if we want to wrap up because we have been going for an hour 11.
Yeah, that
Is there
that works
anything
great.
else you want to do?
Yeah, I would just wanted to
Um,
do grievance corner, but we can table that for next week. I'm pretty
yeah,
like
can we
I'm
table that for next week?
yeah, I'm gonna be just as mad next week as I am this morning, so I kind of don't care. Like I'm gonna be pissed no matter what. So like
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll get that on the table. Well, thank you everybody. Oh, my camera just died. God damn it. Um, okay, can you do the outro then?
yeah.
Here, let me
Thank you
let me mute.
guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in while Ben deals with this camera thing. Um, I I think next week we're going to be talking a lot more about like the NFL free agency as more signings come in. We're going to maybe do some NBA playoff preview since we're a week closer and therefore a week closer to like actual basketball that matters. Um, yeah, we're still going to be out here. We're going to try to bring Sarosh on sometime soon, but he is being really annoying about time, so we're going to have to figure that one out. But yeah, I have been Ivy. You can find me on social media, Ivory S. Schulte. I just changed my handles everywhere so you dummies can find me more easily. Um, Ben, anything else you want to say?
I'm at Ben Sure on most platforms, but or even if I'm not, you can just search it and probably find me. I'm trying to get my name switched over as much as possible, but we'll be on top of NFL free agency. Like as we are talking and doing this podcast, there's a lot happening, but we kind of want to have some more concise thoughts ready to go next week. But we'll have everything ready. And
Yeah.
otherwise, thank you so much for watching.
Yeah, thank you for watching, and I think we might do like a Friday episode at some point, so stay tuned.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for right now, been great. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week.